come along with me today as I make 18 cards using Kendra's Card Challenge 18 and the Wysteria paper pad, an older pad from Basic Gray. Hey, it's Beth. Welcome. This is the Bringing Back Basic Gray collaboration, and this is a very small collab that I do usually with my friend Sarah, who's crafting and relaxing here on YouTube, and Kathy, who's Stampin' Cat over on Instagram. And each month we dip into our hoarded stash of Basic Gray papers, pull some out, and just enjoy them. Basic Gray no longer makes papers. They have moved on to making fabric. The three of us have found that we used to love Basic Gray and hoarded their papers when they stopped making them, and that they were all just sitting in our stash. And so we collectively decided we needed to use them. Not trying to use them up, but just use them and enjoy them instead of having them tucked away safely in a drawer somewhere. So this month I pulled out the Wysteria 6x6 paper pad and decided to take 6 of these sheets and work them with the Kendra's Card Challenge 18, which takes 6 sheets of 6x6 paper and then turns them into a set of at least 15 cards. So I have everything pre-cut and ready to go. I go through her PDFs that have the cutting guide, cut down my sheets of 6x6 paper, and put them into baggies corresponding to the numbers that she gives you on the PDFs. And so you can see here, these are not anything fancy. I'm reusing plastic bags of all kinds here, and just have a post-it note with a number on it. You don't need a fancy storage system or anything. You just need a way to keep the pieces organized. That is one key to succeeding with her card challenges, is to keep yourself organized. So my first pass is going through the 6x6 sheets, like I said, cutting those down and then putting them in the appropriate numbered baggie based on her cutting guide. My second pass is to go through her sketches that she gives you for each card and determine what kind of matting or embellishments I might need. So you can see here I have my pattern paper pieces that I use the cutting guide for, and then I have like card mat, and then sometimes there'll be other like mats for different pieces. I've thrown sentiments and some embellishments in there. Now I may come back and add additional embellishments too, but that's like at least a basic start. And then I have scraps left over from the pieces that I cut down either of cardstock, or I brought in some additional sheets of pattern paper for some embellishments. So I also had some scraps already with this pad, so I'm just trying to use up those with this as well. But I have all of my baggies here and ready to go. I just need to bring in my card bases and we can start assembling. I thought we would do that part together because that's always the most fun, right?
So if you are new to Kendra's Card Challenges, Cards by Kendra puts together a PDF each quarter that contains cutting guides for 6x6 sheets of pattern paper, and then card sketches that help you make a set number of cards. Usually it's 15, but for the 18th card challenge, she has 18 cards that can be made. So the very last sketch in the PDF actually makes 4 cards. So I will actually be getting 18 cards today. So that is a fun little kind of special with this challenge. And I will have a link in the description box below with the video from Cards by Kendra that tells you how you can obtain the PDF, how you can participate in the challenge and have a chance to win prizes. It's a really fun challenge, not just the completing the cards, but there's so many chances for prizes. She has sponsors. It's really amazing. So today I'm making all 15 cards. You can also make individual cards because all the sketches have the measurements on them. So if you just want to make one card at a time, you can do that as well. But I thought I would use this beautiful Wysteria pad to make all 18 cards for this challenge. So I picked out my 6 sheets, and you saw how I store all of my prepped pieces so that I can come and assemble all the cards. The sentiments that I'm using, it's a wide mix, so if you see something you like, let me know, but some of them were already like pre-stamped on my stash. Some of them I printed from my silhouette. They were just kind of like a wide mix. I do bring in some white vinyl circles to use as kind of non-dimensional enamel dots, and these are circles that I have cut out of scrap vinyl pieces. And like I said, I love to use them because they give you the look of enamel dots or sequins or whatever, but you don't get the dimension from them. Or yeah, like they're non-dimensional, so they're flat. Makes it easy to mail. It doesn't cause any issues with that. So it's also a great way for me to use up some of my scrap vinyl. So I do bring in quite a few of those throughout the set of cards. I also bring in some scrap cardstock from my stash to use as dimension, like right here. I'm going to bring in some scrap cardstock to put behind the left side of my Happy Mother's Day circle, because it's going to kind of hang off the edge and there's different layers, and I didn't want it to lay funny. So I do this several times throughout the set of cards as well, just to kind of help level things out. It's a great way to use up some of the scrap cardstock I have, and it's not as dimensional as like a foam tape. So you also don't have the issues with dimension. I know I have no issues with dimension, but for some reason I just tend not to use it very much. I like the look of, I like the illusion of dimension, I guess. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I use. Oh, my Wink of Stella pen. I bring that in, and at the end you'll see I switch pens because one was dry and then one was I squeezed it a little too hard, so there was lots of liquid to work with, but I managed to make that work out as well. I do use, there was a pattern in this Wysteria pad, like this rose pattern actually here, that's the kind of top rectangle in the center, had some really pretty roses and leaves, so I do use those as embellishments a couple of times. Otherwise, I'm bringing in flowers that I punched from scraps of the cardstock that I had left from cutting all of the matte layers. I think that's pretty much what I used for embellishments throughout. I kind of layered some flowers up sometimes, and then I used some of my white vinyl circles as the flower centers as well, just to kind of complete the flower. So you'll see that on this one. I put the kind of leaves there, and then we'll add a center to the flower. And then I'm using the scraps up there in that right hand corner. Those are the scrap pieces that I had left over and are going on the insides of all the cards. All the cards are A2, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's what Kendra's Card Challenge usually makes. You can adapt the sketches if you are a 5 by 7 card maker. I know there's quite a few people who do adapt the sketches to fit 5 by 7s. So that is an option as well. I think that covers everything. Let's see. Timing wise, the video itself was probably an hour, 40 minutes before I sped it up. So that was assembly. As far as prep work, it was probably another hour and a half of prep work, just getting everything cut down, trying to figure out the cardstock that I wanted to use, the embellishments and sentiments that I wanted to use, so probably double that, and then that's what it would have taken me to do these start to finish. But I tend to break it up, like a lot of times I'll get the pattern paper cut down, and then I'll come back at another time and start working on the cardstock and maybe do that in pieces. And then I tend to do the assembly all at once, though, just because it's kind of fun. You get in a rhythm, and it's just, you don't have to stop and think about things as much. It's just everything's ready to go, and you can just have fun creating. So that's pretty much my process on how I do these. The challenges themselves, like I said in the beginning, as long as you're organized, they tend to go pretty smoothly and are really fun. It's just the very first time I did it, I was not organized. So I can tell you from experience, the organization is kind of key just to make sure that everything stays together. So if you have any questions about the process itself, let me know. And also check out Kendra's video in the description box below, because she does a great job of explaining just how to participate and how to find everything that you need. So I think at this point, I will set you to some music and just let you enjoy the crafting. Hopefully you are crafting along with me, and I will check in with you all at the very end.
here are the 18 cards that I made, and I'm not sure where the footage cut out, but I'm pretty sure I didn't get the last 4. I started to finish up and I looked up and it wasn't recording. So these I just made as like postcard style. I will use them for thank yous for online orders. And otherwise, here are the 15 cards that I managed to get. I got a mix of birthdays, Mother's Day, thank yous. But I love like the purples and the golds and the greens and the blues together. So there's the cards that I made using the Wysteria paper from Basic Gray and Kendra's Card Challenge 18. I will have Sarah and Kathy linked below if you want to hop on over to see what they have made this month. I thank you guys so much for your time and hope you all have a very crafty day.